The world's radio frequency watchers are shivering when you hear strange sounds emitting from one of the planet's most mysterious radio stations, UVB-76. It's also known as obsessive doomsday radio station. In the midst of extreme tension after the UAV attack targeted at President Putin's residence, UVB Station 76. No more soulless voices like always. Instead, it's playing a strange concert. From cartoon lyrical melodies, the musicians of Bremen, with gunpowder-smelling lyrics, like attacking KF with missiles, to the ethnic songs of Seymour. But there's a melody that comes along, that all of the Western analysts, to erect the nape. That's the Swan Lake Symphony. Swan Lake of Tchaikovsky, carrying such a terrible weight. For Russian society, it's not just academic music. In the subconscious of the Russian people, Swan Lake, it's the harbinger of political earthquakes. Against the tide of history, every time there is a big event in Russia or the Soviet Union, the government is not in time. I don't know how to tell people. They're going to cut all the programs periodically and play the Swan Lake Ballet over and over again. On the radio and radio. 1982, when Leader Brand died. Swan Lake echoed. 984, when Andropov lay down. It's Swan Lake again. And the climax was the coup. 1991, as tanks spilled onto the streets of Moscow. People turn on the TV. I just saw the white swans dancing all the time. For 3 days and nights, when the Swan Lake echoes on the frequency, 4,625 kilos, of the 76 UVB radio, shortly after the attack on Novgorod province, the world understands that Russia is preparing for something extremely terrible. And it's a turning point. A little correction about UVB Radio 76. It's called Doomsday Radio, comes from a military hypothesis about the perimeter system. It's called the Death Hand. This is Russia's automatic nuclear retaliation system. It is believed that if Russia is attacked, nuclear annihilation of leadership, UVB Radio 76 will stop sending cheap signals, and that silence will activate order to launch the entire remaining nuclear missile arsenal, Russia and the enemy. However, this is still an unconfirmed legend. But it's that ambiguity that turns the melodies appear on this frequency. They become threatening messages. It's an underground nuclear deterrent. Now, let's talk about the detonator that caused this alarm. Looks like the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has gone too far in terms of words. That he's on television and using metaphorical words. May everyone know that someone is going to sell salt soon. Really is. According to Western allies and experts, it's a foolish move in terms of diplomacy and security. These are the words of Mr. Zelensky. Not only hurt Russia's national self-esteem, it's more important, it accidentally, to give the Kremlin an excuse for the agreement itself, to escalate the intensity of the war to the highest level. Horizontal current. They're creating an image that they're the victims of an assassination attempt. The supreme leader. And when the Swan Lake echoed on the Doomsday Radio, Moscow wants to tell the world that the patience is over. And now, it's time for irreversible reactions. 76 UVB jobs ever broadcast, I'm Russian. Or the Soviet national anthem, at the end of 2024. Maybe it's just a display of national pride. But this time between the UAV wave and the death threats. The appearance of Swan Lake. It's the color of a death march. It's not just music. It's a signal that Russia's enormous war machine, I'm moving to a new state. It could be a total attack into the power institutions at KF, or even a big change in the doctrine of the use of weapons of mass destruction. Before that, there was a massive blackout. What's happening in Moscow is still going on. When Ukraine launched the attack by a large-scale drone into the Russian capital, Russian air defense systems detected and disabled 21 UAV drones in the area of Moscow, in which at least 5 were intercepted, flying towards the Russian capital. According to local officials, Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the Room systems not killed at least 24 more Ukrainian UAVs between 20 hours and 23 hours. Of these, 14 were shot down over Kaluga, 5 at Crimea, 3 in Belgrade, and each Tula province with the same curse recorded 1. In recent months, Ukraine regularly conducts UAV raids deep into Russian territory, targeting critical infrastructure and residential areas. Moscow's leftist actions are terrorist attacks. In a cornered position, Moscow declared there will be a non-diplomatic response to the incident. Russia has already carried out airstrikes aimed at military infrastructure related of Ukraine, said the goal is to reduce UAV production capacity. and weapons of KF. This attack took place after the attack targeted the residence of President Vladimir Putin in Novgorod province on the night of 28 at dawn on the 29th of December. It's called an act of state terrorism. He also spoke about the attack on Putin's residence. Spokesman Dmitry Petkov gave an explanation. Instead of just treating this as a routine assassination, Petkov claims that this attempted attack was in fact an act of terrorism to tie up the whole negotiation process. From the point of view of Moscow, this stick wasn't just aimed at President Putin personally. And in fact, it's directed at Donald Trump personally, and the tireless efforts of the American president in the search for a peaceful solution. Because this spokesman revealed that Mr. Putin informed Mr. Trump of the incident on the phone call on the 29th of December. Petrov stressed that the tone of the conversation. You can see that the action is considered provocative. From Ukraine, I couldn't destroy trust. It was built between the two Russian and American leaders. However, he also warned that Russia will not ignore this. They will take a diplomatic stand, stronger at the negotiating table. It's accompanied by strong military countermeasures. On the other side, representatives from Washington, it's a completely opposite view. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker have publicly expressed their suspicions. Accusations from Moscow. Answer on Ford business. The American thief thinks this sounds absurd. According to the ambassador, it's hard to believe that Ukraine, one country, we are very close to the goal of a peace agreement, to take a reckless action, and such a lack of reality. The writer said the US would not rush to conclusions. It will clarify the industry, based on actual intelligence. The most important thing for you right now is to look at American intelligence agencies. What did the Allies conclude about whether this attack actually happened, or just a staged script? Meanwhile, the White House and CIA remain silent to make the atmosphere around the incident even more mysterious. There is a huge gap in front of Russia in terms of military force. This has made Ukraine difficult in an effort to defend the southeastern front before the relentless advance of Moscow, due to many difficulties in mobilizing enough new people to make up for all the losses along the line. The Ukrainian army has very few reserves. This forces the commanders. You have to make difficult choices. Where to hit, where to keep, and hope the Russian military doesn't exploit the loopholes in the Ukrainian line. In recent months, it is clear that the Ukrainian command chose to attack at Kuping, defenses around Pokrit and Manarad, at the same time accept a high level of risk in the Kulipan area. Recognize this weakness. Powerful Dnipro army cluster of Russia was quick to launch aggressive offensives into Hollywood. It's a key point in the defense system. Zaporizhia city. It's about 80 kilometers to the west. Just before Christmas, Russian 57th Motorized Infantry Brigade. They claim to have won this town. Ukraine rejected Russian information. But according to experts, Moscovang is very dominant here. Kulipan used to be the largest city and most fortified of Ukraine. In eastern Zaporizhia province, Russian forces are attacking from many directions. According to the experts, Ukraine's strategy. In Hollywood, there's a lot of confusion when KF only maintains a very thin force in this area. In the face of Russian dominance, some territorial defense battalions can't be expected to detain a motorized infantry brigade of Ivory, especially in the absence of effective artillery support and UAV units in the vicinity. What seems to have happened? More remarkable, the Ukrainian forces should have reorganized the defenses in the west. Kulipan is wasting more manpower and equipped for a puzzling local counterattack in the direction of Rivapilia. It's about 9 kilometers east of Kulipan. That makes Ukraine's defensive pink hole bigger in this direction. With such factors, Russia is moving quickly into town, and Ukrainian forces are described is to fall into chaos, with the headquarters left intact. It has the same internal components as a laptop. The phone is unlocked. It's not too surprising.